Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something. Izzo.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota. Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome, everybody, to Hot Mic on WDAY Extra. Good morning to our friends in KSFL in Sioux Falls, KMBN in Western South Dakota, and everyone watching online at Inforum.com. On a Tuesday morning, the 11th of August, 2026, I am Dom Izzo, host of said program. Glad to be with everyone here on a Tuesday as we barrel through another week and an exciting time. We're on the doorstep of Minnesota high school football practice getting going, and we were visiting with Thor Sukup yesterday from Wayzata. He's counting down the days for they start, which is on Monday, for those counting at home. And also, first Viking game is coming up. Vikes play on Saturday in their preseason opener against the New York Football Giants, which will, of course, extrapolate numerous answers out of that for guys that likely may not make the roster. More intriguing is when Kevin O'Connell meets with the assembled media today is exact plans for quarterback in the game on Saturday. I don't know if we'll get an answer on that, but we will certainly hear from that as the day progresses here. We got a lot to unpack here today. We're officially in the dog days for fall camp for colleges, specifically North Dakota State. North Dakota, they've been going for a bit. MSU Moorhead's been going for a little over a week now. Concordia starts next week, but for the teams that have been going for a bit, this is now the real slog because they're still, 18 days away from playing football for the Bison, 16 days away from UND. So we're still a ways here to go before there's actual football games to be played. So now it's about A, staying healthy, and B, trying to fine-tune things, round things into form for that opening game, which we'll talk plenty of Bison football in this first hour. You're going to hear from Tim Polasek coming up here in just a little bit. We had a chance to talk with him yesterday as we had some media availability. Just to update, I know we heard from on Friday, but they had their scrimmage on Saturday to unpack what developed there, and now some positions maybe starting to get figured out. You're going to hear from the head ball coach coming up later on in the show. We're also going to check in a couple of North Dakota high school football outfits. One team playing in 10 days' time. You think that's crazy? I do. Because week 0 is in North Dakota high school football. I know. Some people will just roll their eyes at week 0. I used to, but now we lost the battle on that. But there is games coming up a week from Friday in North Dakota high school ball. So we'll check in on one of those teams coming up later on in the show. But we're going to start with some baseball with the Minnesota Twins back home after that 9-game roadie that took them through 3 separate towns, through Seattle, through Kansas City, through Milwaukee. And no rest here because they've got a big week. The Orioles are here. The Field of Dreams game is coming up on Thursday in Iowa. It's a wonky week because they're going to play Thursday, then they won't play Friday against the Phillies, and then they'll resume their series back at Target Field. So there's, and obviously, regardless of the wonkiness of the schedule, the Twins are battling here for a playoff spot as they're trying to chase down both the White Sox in the American League Central race. They're trying to chase down the Rangers and a bunch of other teams in the wild card race. Last night, they were facing, as I mentioned, the Orioles. Dean Kramer was starting, who 2 weeks ago was pitching for Baltimore, who seemed to have some extra motivation for the game last night. Kalen Culpepper doesn't need any motivation, making his Target Field debut. Here is said Kramer, who, if you've not seen him before, rocks the man bun, and he was rocking it last night. He looked like Cy Young out there. 7 innings and struck out 7 Orioles. Austin Martin, by the way, looked like Tony Oliva. He's been not great for about 3 months at the plate. Woke up last night in a big-time way with a solo homer to left to get the Twins on the board. Craziness on the base pass here. Tyler O'Neill strikes out. Gunnar Henderson, though, will score as they wait out the caught stealing to tie the game at 1. Culpepper up in the bottom of the 4th with a dying Quayle to left. That's going to score Luke Keyshaw and put Minnesota up 2-1. Same score to the bottom of the 7th. Ryan Jeffers delivers with the infield in with a 2-run single to left as Martin will beat the throw at home and make it a 4-1 Twins lead. They weren't done with damage in the 7th. Josh Bell up at the plate with 2 on, and he hammers this. This is to the deepest part of the park, folks. The left center, you got to crank it. That's a 407-foot shot. It's 7-1. The Twins have blown the doors off it. Baltimore got 2 back in the 8th. It's 7-3. Jeffers delivers with his 3rd RBI of the game. Martin, who was on base 4 times. Austin Martin had 4 hits last night. That made it 8-3. Royce Lewis would contribute to the RBI parade with a base hit to left. That would plate Jeffers. It's 9-3. All right, the game is over, right? It's 9-3. And you've got Taylor Rogers trying to close it out. Well, Kobe Mayo said he's got other ideas with this bloop into right. That's going to score a pair of runs. And before you know it, okay, now it's getting dicey. It's 9-5. The Orioles put 2 runners on. But thankfully, Rogers gets the ground ball to Royce Lewis to end it. And the Twins pick up the series opener, 9-5. The final. Again, the Orioles aren't necessarily out of the wild card race either. I know they're 5 games under 500, but they're in it. Kramer, 7 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Just his 2nd win of the season. What got into him? Craziness. Adams and Rogers worked the 8th and the 9th and allowed 4 runs combined out of the bullpen. Mentioned the night for Austin Martin. 4 hits, his first career 4-hit game in the majors. Rosa's batting average all the way up to 242 in the process. So, as you wake up this morning, I always say that. I know people can check the standings right away. I used to do that as a kid. I would have newspaper. I would look at the standings because that's what we did. So that's how I say that. So as you wake up this morning, the Twins are in a tie for 2nd in the Central. 3.5 back of the White Sox. Everybody won last night. That matters. Suddenly the Guardians are fading as well. They've lost a couple in a row. The Tigers have won 2 in a row. The White Sox have won a couple in a row. So that's where things look in the Central. In the wild card is also, I mean, this is going to be fabulous if we're going to have to pay attention to this for the next 6 weeks. It just is. It beats the alternative of not being relevant. The Tigers and the Twins are both a 1.5 back of Texas. Then you've got the Guardians behind them, and you got the Orioles as well. 3 back with the Blue Jays and Mariners bringing up the rear of teams that are still logistically in, or logically, I should say, in the race with the Yankees and Red Sox out in front. Boston lost in the most bizarre manner. If I could show it to you, I would, of what went down in the Boston-Toronto game last night where they literally lost count of the outs. To try the game stopped for 16 minutes. It defies description, honestly, of what went down. But be that as it may, the Red Sox have lost 3 in a row after losing 2-1 to Toronto last night. That's kind of complete kind of victory the Twins need. You get a great pitching performance. You get 7 innings out of your starter. You get top-to-bottom production out of your lineup. Those are quality wins. See if they can put another one together tonight. It appears, looks like Taj Bradley is going to be the guy to pitch in the game Thursday night in Iowa. I'll just bring this up because I guess I'm maybe more in the football mode now. That how many people actually know the Field of Dreams game is happening this week? And it's on Netflix. It's not over-the-air television. I know the last few that at least they did. The first one, it certainly was on Fox when the Yankees and the White Sox played there, whenever that was, 5 years ago. Now it's a Netflix game. So I don't know if there's any buzz for this happening. Maybe it's going to bubble up here before too long. I believe the Saints are playing there. The St. Paul Saints are playing there tonight in Dyersville, Iowa, the site of, obviously, of the great movie. Aaron Nola and Taj Bradley are going to be the guys going in the game on Thursday. All right, before we set up the show here, normally NBA scheduled release day is not a huge day on our program, but since the Wolves have gotten beyond good and relevant, they have certainly become the charmers of the NBA. Today, the NBA announced its signature games on various platforms, including, much like the NFL does on Good Morning America and the Today Show, they announced today their Christmas Day lineup. Now, that's a big deal because before the NFL decided to curb stomp everything and take over Christmas Day, which they did a couple of years ago, the NBA owned it. And again, back in my day thing, growing up, Michael Jordan playing on Christmas Day was a big bleeping deal. I'm just going to tell you, that was must-watch TV. I was at my grandma Izzo's house by then, and people be opening their gifts, and the Bulls be playing about 5:30, and I'd be watching the game. If I was by myself, then so be it, which normally I was. But that was what you did. I wasn't trying to be antisocial. It just was a matter of fact. Now, the NBA's owned Christmas for over 25 years now, at least until the last couple of years when the NFL decided to play games. But that hasn't dissuaded them from playing games on Christmas Day. And they announced this morning their lineup. And typically, again, this wouldn't be something we would talk about on our show, but the Minnesota Timberwolves are relevant, and they've played on Christmas Day the last couple of years. They played Denver the last couple of years on Christmas Day. Granted, it hasn't been until 9:30 at night when they've played, but they've been on there. There's a change this year. They're back, but for the first time, they're playing at home. This is the lineup. It'll start, and all these games are on WDAY, so I'm going to say it's, self-promoting as well for us, with an NBA Finals rematch. I'm a little surprised it's not the 76ers playing the Knicks to start, with LeBron now in Philly. But you've got Spurs-Knicks to start things at 11 a.m. That's followed by the Heat and the Celtics at 1:30. That's pretty juicy. Then at 4 o'clock, middle of the day, if you're not opening gifts then, you've got 76ers, Lakers. Then at 7, you've got the Thunder and the Wolves. OKC. We get SGA flopping around on the floor at Target Center. That's pretty darn cool that the Wolves get a home game on Christmas Day. And then it wraps up at 9:30 with the Nuggets and the Warriors. I'm not sure why Golden State is still in there outside of Steph Curry. That's the only reason now. And Jimmy Buckets, maybe, that the Warriors are getting any sort of spotlight. But that's the Christmas Day lineup that includes the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, just for your own knowledge here, as we get closer to the start of the NFL season, I went and looked because Christmas is on a Friday this year. Breaking news, if you didn't know. I forgot. The NFL is trotting these 3 games out to counter program against the NBA. And the NFL is going to win this, right? We know this. You've got Packers-Bears at noon on Netflix, followed by Bills-Broncos, rematch of that playoff game, at 3:30 on Netflix. And then in prime time that night, you've got Rams-Seahawks on Fox. That's 3 really good games. On top of the fact they're playing a game on Christmas Eve, by the way, which is a Thursday night game on Amazon Prime. So, yeah, the battle is underway. Packers, Bears, Bills, Broncos, Rams, Seahawks will trounce any of those games I just said. Maybe Spurs, Knicks, simply because that's an 11 a.m. tip, but the football game starts at noon. And if anything we found out over the last couple of years, when the NFL decides to do anything, it normally wins. So, as it is, you've got a dynamite day there. You open your gifts, do whatever you want, have a great meal, typically ham, at least for me, and then find your way, either have your tablet, you have your phone, computer. If you can't watch the television, you've got all the games lined up for you. You're all set, ready to roll. Pretty darn good selection of games coming up on Christmas Day. I'm just looking, by the way, the NBA put out a few others. The Wolves will play the second day of the season at Miami on October the 21st. That's on ESPN. I only bring this up because the DAZN news came out a couple of weeks ago about where the Wolves are going to have a majority of their regular season games, that they're going to have plenty on national television. If you saw yesterday that Rudy tweeted out a photo or posted on Instagram, almost the entire Timberwolves roster in Paris, as they took a photo at the base of the Eiffel Tower. They all went over there to work out, to come together. LaMelo was there. Anthony Edwards was there. Everybody. Jaden McDaniels. Fun to see for what the Wolves were doing in the offseason. All right, we got a packed show coming up for you here in just a few minutes. I mentioned you'll hear from our conversation with Tim Polasek up at Bison Fall Camp. We'll do that here in just a few minutes. Our guy Mike McFeely was there yesterday at Bison Fall Camp as well. We'll get his impressions of what Polasek had to say and his thoughts. He wrote a column on the Bison offensive line. We're going to get to that and a couple other topics with Mike at 9:35. At 10 o'clock, we'll head to Valley City, North Dakota. Chad Smith will join us, the head coach of the Highliners in his second year. Big things happen in Valley City. If you haven't been out there lately, it has undergone a massive renovation. Finally, the Highliners are getting their turf football field. It's nearly done. They're set to play against Velva in 10 days' time, a game you'll see right here on WDAY Extra. We'll talk with Chad about that coming up at 10 o'clock. And at 10:35, last year's runners-up in 2A football, Minot North. Jacob Holmen will join us as the Sentinels with high hopes and potentially, I would anticipate, their last season in 2A football with a classification change coming in 2027 that we'd anticipate Minot North is going to be a 3A school next fall. This is their chance maybe to win a 2A title this year. Knowing full well that Kindred is here on the other side of the state. Devil's Lake, who's the reigning champs, still pretty darn good. We'll visit with Jacob about the 2026 Sentinel group coming up at 10:35 to wrap up our show. That and a heck of a lot more here on a busy Tuesday morning. We'll take our first break. We come back. We'll hear from the head ball coach, Tim Polasek, about Bison Fall Camp and a couple of position battles that he's keeping an eye on. Hot Mike returns after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV, KMBN, and Inforum.com. Welcome back, everybody. Off and rolling here on a Tuesday morning edition of Hot Mike. Mike McFeely joined us at about 15 minutes worth of time. As I mentioned off the top of the show, we had a chance to be up at Bison Fall Camp yesterday. We only have a handful of these left. I think actually we have about 3 left for media access. Granted, they'll shut down Fall Camp middle of next week, and then it's on to actual game prep mode for week 1 or 0, however you call it, against Jacksonville State. So especially after Saturday's scrimmage, wanted a chance to get up to NDSU and visit with Tim Polasek, get his thoughts on what the scrimmage unfolded as, injury-wise, and some positions to update us on. So here's what the head coach had to say yesterday.
Some combinations of the different linebacker things is real. I'm excited about that. You know, I'm going to be a little bit cautious not to give too much away to our opponents, but the different things you guys could speculate on and what we're looking at combination-wise, it's pretty evident to me that one way or another that certain combinations are going to have to be out there 70-75% of the time. I thought we cultivated one-on-one opportunities better than we ever have here before in a scrimmage. Sometimes we give you guys this, well, the scrimmage is going to determine so much. Well, you need X amount of one-on-one situations to come up. I did think you know, Conklin showed up on his vertical ball attempt. Quite frankly, there was a PI, no PI call from the Mountain West officials that I just said, you know, rubbing is racing. It was pretty good. And then we had a couple corners fight back, younger guys that I think are starting to get in this competition. I know we're talking to certain people. There's a couple guys here that we're not afraid we're going to say giddy up and go. And so that was really good. A little bit disappointing that we didn't break a few more tackles with some okay situations. Other than that, everything went to plan as far as staying healthy.
My last thing, everybody was good health-wise?
Well, I think, you know, right now, the dog days of camp, you know, Zach Vanderpool is going to get back, but he's working through a foot. Nathan Hayes, a little bit of a hamstring. You guys might not see him move around as good today, but we'll take care of him tomorrow and then on the off day. Other than that, nothing else is really coming to mind as far as, major injuries that get, sustained or whatever during the scrimmage. So the scrimmage was good, and we had a kicker hit one from quite a ways away. So that was encouraging. I mean, I haven't seen anything like that before.
Guy? Freshman?
I'm not sure. I can't remember. No, Jaden's doing a really good job. Jaden's doing a really good job of just developing and learning the timing and the rhythm, but he is most certainly under consideration to be a kickoff guy. As time goes on, could he be a guy that if we had to, right, 4th and 18 from whatever yard line, throw him out there and give him a chance? I mean, he's earning that right. We had 6 2-minute drills that night, and he got the opportunity to go out there on 3 of them, and he executed. For a freshman, that's a big deal, and so we're pleased with that. Drew Klein's doing excellent. I mean, his accuracy and his consistency has been remarkable, and he's gotten stronger in the kickoff game as well.
Going back to corners, I assume that means both the Russells you're talking about, Kobe and Duran, that have stood out so far?
Most certainly those two have garnered and earned the opportunity. Duran's doing a really good job. Kobe's going to be an interesting athlete because I think he's eager to play in the slot at some point. But he most certainly competitive spirit and ability to learn is doing really well. Marion Moore is off to a good start. I think DJ's been as consistent in that position as anybody that we've had, and then so how's it going to shake out between Chance, EJ, and then I got to be honest with you guys, Najee's put together some really good things, and we got a scare with Keegan, but it's a knee strain, and so I think situationally Keegan's still an option, especially in certain types of games and different opponents.
Well, you have some decisions to make at corner.
Yeah, I think a lot. No, I appreciate that question, Jeff, and we just got done talking as a staff 2 days ago. We can't be scared of this. We're in a day and age now. We don't owe anything to anybody. Everybody wants what they want, and we want. I know what we want to do from a community standpoint in a program. These decisions are going to be big time. But what else is tied to that is the chair that LJ sits in, supported by me, because the guys that travel as 4 or 5 or 6 have to be contributors on special teams. So the competition goes far beyond just the positional competition. It goes to, are there starting opportunities to be captured on special teams?
Offensive line, where are we there?
I think we have a pretty good idea who will trot out there game 1. Nate Tested, strain, MCL. And so he'll be back, I think, shortly here. Is fighting like crazy to hold on to a spot. But right now, I think Gage Schmidt gives us the best chance to have the best 5 people out there. So that's about my comfort in saying where we're at. I think Ken A has grabbed the hold of the spot, but if he doesn't squeeze really hard, Stummis is coming. It's really unfortunate for Coy, and not because he's an in-state kid and all that stuff, but if he weren't to miss the amount of time he did last year and this spring, I think our conversation would be different. So we do have some competition going on still, but I think some of those pieces and how we want to move forward with the bulk of our reps here with Gage at center, MP getting some shots, and I really like Jack as the number 3 center. Not quite solidified, but I feel really good about in-house how we present and how we see it. I think at the most, we'd be looking at playing, if we do anything of a series or 2 in the first 2 games. That's all that trial will go.
So last year, it seemed like you felt like you were unsettled on the offensive line all year, and you can speak to that yourself. But did you want to avoid that feeling this year? So every week you're answering questions from us about your offensive line at every practice?
No, you guys.
Which we love to ask about, by the way.
Last year had a big impact on moving forward and philosophically and why. I mean, you guys will never impact our decisions to win a football game. But it just does, it points out a really good or a bad situation, right? If you're not solidified, maybe you're not as good as you think you are. Okay, that's clear to me now. But I still come back to Pat Perlis playing 8 guys in a game, and 3 different guys could snap. And, man, those guys all played, and we stayed fresh and healthy. And so if you do have 7 capable guys, I'm still comfortable with, okay, that guy gets to play a series to stay sharp in the second quarter. He gets an early series in the third quarter to stay sharp. But we want, more than ever, to be able to say, these are our starting 5, supported by these 2 guys, and you 2 guys have earned some playing time and help us win because of the freshness. I don't think we identify anybody this year that's going to struggle to play 70 plays. Last year, that was a little bit of the issue. When you really started looking at it, I thought, especially our young kid, the redshirt freshman in Nate, would have been way better served playing 50, 60 plays than 70 and learning on the fly. But he did a workman's type job last year.
Is that a strength thing or like understanding what's going on?
I think just, the ability to be mentally tough when you're tired is something that we're trying to get instilled right now. I think it's probably connected to that more than anything else. And then I do think some kids respond a little bit better as far as getting a series, to see it on the iPad, to see it, visually with the coach and be able to talk through some things and then get back out there and go.
If Gage is center, who are you thinking right guard then? If Griffin's playing left guard, I imagine?
Yeah, so that's why I'm cautioning to just say these 5, because I think we're not a strong and weak side, but there might be some combinations that are beneficial conceptually to get 2 individuals playing together. And then the skill sets that they do could carry over. We're actually talking about that. And, hey, we're turning over every stone much better than we did a year ago or 2 years ago as far as personnel depth, what kind of decisions are there was going to lead to in December. And I'm talking about what we're talking about all the time, NIL, the 105-man roster. So we're turning over every stone right now and trying to figure out what's the best way to consistently move the ball and score points.
Good stuff there from the head ball coach about range of topics, ranging from corner, offensive line. Specifically, we hit on that. And that's a perfect segue for our next break. We come back. Mike McFeely will join us. Mike wrote about that. We'll talk his observations of the first couple weeks of fall camp and some other burning topics around college athletics, as we always do. That's coming up when we return after this.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
Oh, it's Mr. McFeely.
I have seen the future, and he was wearing number 5, and I ain't talking about Robbie Grimsley, folks.
Took out the muffins, took out the trail mix, took out the cookies. They stole the monster cookies.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Let's do some broadcasting.
Yeah. Mike's appearance on Hot Mic is brought to you by Sunset Lanes of Moorhead.
And it's that time again with our guy Mike McFeely. Joins us each and every Tuesday at 9:35. I was just scoping out your video you posted on Inforum.com of the loons that you ran into this weekend.
Yes, yeah, I took a little siesta Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which is why I was not at Bison Football Local Media Days, or Media Day, I guess. Just hanging out with the loons. What a wonderful existence.
Right?
God.
They got it made, right?
Yep. I'm going to be 60 here in a couple weeks. It's,
That's a big number, man. That's awesome.
Thanks. I'm starting to see.
No, it's an important number.
I'm starting to see the horizon line and just go, boy, there's a lot of loons in my future. None of this stuff. With all due respect.
No, that's I got you.
A lot of loons in my future.
You mean you don't want to hit Bison offensive line chatter here right away?
Oh,
or
my
no?
God. It's unbelievable. I wrote about it yesterday.
I know you did. And
I was asking questions.
We heard your questions asked of the head football coach. What do you make of what he said about
Well, first
Bison
of all,
line?
as I wisecracked during the stand-up impromptu presser yesterday, we love asking questions about the offensive line. We're just obsessive. We're just obsessive about it in this town.
He definitely got testy about it 2 years ago when he was first here.
Well,
he also had Mason Miller and Gray Zabel as his tackle.
He was baffled that we're asked, what are you talking about? I mean, which is fair.
Yep,
and I've
totally.
told him that was totally fair. But since then,
last year I think was
last year he actually said at the start of the year. This year you can ask me about the offensive line a lot because
we did,
and I don't know that it was a tough thing to write about today or yesterday because they started the same 5 guys all year.
Right.
But
Correct.
yet the coaches never seemed happy with what they had on the field completely. And whether that was inexperience in some cases or, communication is such a big thing on the offensive line. Whether it was
they just were tinkering, they just kept tinkering.
Leadership or communication, or there was just something that was off, and they were always like every week. It was like the post-game presser would be, we just gotta, we have to be able to run the ball more consistently. We just
gotta
can't
find the 5.
We gotta find the 5 to go with. It's like okay, well, you found 5, and you'd never change anything out. Until I think the playoff game, I think the
starting lineup then changed for the playoff game.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I thought it was just an odd year.
Totally.
Last year, and then this year, so far, I think there's a little more of the same there. They're not settled. They're getting closer for sure, which is what I wrote about. That yesterday, Polasek finally said, "I think we know the 5 are going to roll out there for the first game of the year to start." But then he also said, well, there's still, and then he has to grab this position by the throat and hold on tight because, and they want competition.
Yes.
Coaches, you never want to hand anything to anybody. No. You always want competition because that, you know what the saying is, Don, is iron sharpens iron.
Ah, that's a good one.
It's true. Yep.
Yeah.
And so.
Save that one.
And so they always want competition. They never want to hand anything to anybody. But it just seems again like, okay, they got 5, but do they really like the 5? I guess they do. I don't know.
Well, Gage Schmidt is going to be the guy at center. That was the most definitive that I think that Polasek was about anything, was that Schmidt is going to be the guy, which is a great story.
Since spring ball, it's been, Griffin Empey might be playing center because he's, that might be his best position. And then it also might be, he might be the best, center on the team.
Right.
With all due respect to Gage Schmidt, that might be Griffin Empey's path to an NFL career would be at center, which all of that plays into it. But you also need to have the best 5
out there,
offensive line on the field. And so if they can move Griffin Empey to left guard and Gage Schmidt is a serviceable to above average
adequate
to
center,
good center, then you have, and they're better than the players that they're replacing at guard, then you go with it.
You have some positional flexibility is what they like to say, right?
Yes.
We
and
assume
that makes Bison offensive line more valuable to NFL teams as well, Dom. I've heard that for the last 7 years.
But that also means Ryan Babbitt's, we assume, is going to be the left tackle. Yep. And then going back to your last point, I remember texting you when I'm on the field in Brookings, and they're telling me Babbitt's is going to play a lot. We're in game, whatever it was, 8 or 9 last year. Like, the true freshman's going to come in multiple series, which maybe more red flags should have gone off than even for me that I realized. Like, wow, it's a big deal. They're playing a true freshman in, quote-unquote, the biggest game of the year.
Right, yes, no, for sure. But the Illinois State game did not go well for the offensive line.
No, it did not.
I mean, there were, I
don't back and watch it, man. They got manhandled there.
I just don't.
They just did.
The left tackle did not play well in that game. That wasn't Babbitt's. That was Bo Johnson. The young man from Roulette.
Nate tossed it.
I don't know if he just ran out of gas. I'm not criticizing him. He was a redshirt freshman, who was playing 9-man football prior to that, and he started the entire year, and then he's playing against 24-year-old defensive linemen from Illinois State who are, smoking cigarettes on the sideline and drinking Fresca.
Len Dawson on the sideline.
With their 2 kids up in the stands. And Nate Tastad is he's like a 19-year-old going, okay. And so I'm not criticizing Nate at all. He was put into a very difficult situation. And Tim referenced that yesterday, saying he would have been better served playing 50 to 60 plays rather than 70 plays all season long.
Which I think was the gist of what Polasek was saying as well to us, is that if we can do that, that might make us better throughout the whole year, being able to rotate some guys and not have them play as many reps as they did a season ago.
But a lot of this goes, and you and I have talked about this for the last year or so, is a lot of this goes back to, and I wrote about this again, is that they had a couple to a few recruiting classes where they just didn't get much out of them, if anything.
I was going to say zero out of them. Yep.
On the offensive line. I mean, they whiffed a lot from about 2020 to 2022. I mean, Josh Magan is the only high school recruit offensive lineman left from the 2022 signing class, and he was a defensive lineman.
Not a Shakopee, correct.
That they switched to offensive line.
Yep.
And so that's your redshirt seniors. You should have at least 2 guys.
You'd hope. Yeah, right.
I mean, I know it's never a 100% hit rate. It just can't be. But you'd hope to have 2 redshirt seniors that would either be starting or one of the guys would be in the rotation. Yep. They have a couple redshirt juniors, Empey and who else?
Lewinsky's in that group.
But
yeah.
I mean,
I think Stummis is in that group as well.
And so they just have missed a couple of years, and that they just sort of got out of whack. And then you have to add in the transfers. It's the world we live in. But if Bo Johnson and Trent Fraley come back this year,
oh man,
then you're going, wow, they're going to be pretty dang good.
Yeah, right.
And now you're like, well, okay.
Yep, totally. Even if one of the 2 comes back, I think you're feeling pretty good about where you're at offensive line wise.
Yes,
in
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that's not to say they're not going to be good.
Correct.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. And I was talking with somebody yesterday at practice going, and he was saying like, well, it's just sort of hard to believe that NDSU isn't going to have an advantage on the offensive line in this league. Yeah. Even if you have some questions, even if it's not, 4 NFL guys, you kind of go, is there going to be a game where you go, wow, like Hawaii's defensive line is just manhandling NDSU up front? I mean, is that going to happen? Maybe it happens, but it doesn't seem likely, does it?
No. But again, that's the whole newness of what we have coming is we just don't know what to expect.
Man, San Jose State's defensive line is just road grading NDSU's offensive line.
That.
I don't know.
I don't foresee that happening. That's the whole part. We just don't know on that. Noah Stummis is a name, and he brought up, Polasek did to us yesterday, that's a young man out of Eden Valley Watkins High School, huge. He's a huge dude that potentially could be in the mix. Tosted's there, Mangan's there, along the names we've already mentioned that could potentially play. That's the one we're not going to know was Tucker Thieneman, who was another true freshman that came in this class. He got hurt during spring football.
That freshman,
right?
Just massive,
he's a huge guy that I think he would have played. I think he and Earl Brown both, the guy out of Pillager,
at least would have had gotten snaps,
right? Because with this new rule now, you don't have to worry about it. That they at least I think would have got a chance to get up there and get some snaps.
It's really hard to be a true freshman. And Ryan Babbitt's last year played, but and good for him. And they have him pegged at left tackle. But it's really hard to play as a true freshman on the offensive or defensive line.
Who was the last true freshman to play offensive line before
Billy
Babbitt's?
Turner.
Who's an absolute freak. He played 10 years in the National Football League. All right, let's break. We come back. There's some Mountain West QB news we got to talk about.
Yes.
Not just related to the Bison. We'll do that. And
there's no QB news at NDSU. They have their QB1.
They do. That and much more when Hot Mike returns. We're back after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. A few more minutes here with our guy, Mike McFeely. I got a couple emails I want to get to, but there's some controversy again with the Pac-12 and the Mountain West.
What?
Pac-12 just tweeted out, you're going to take umbrage with this. The Pac-12 Conference, we have named Old Trapper a founding partner and official beef jerky of the Pac-12. Now, wait a minute.
I thought
Old Trapper was us.
I thought Old Trapper was ours.
Yes, right?
I was popping Old Trapper beef jerky like it was
going on a
Quaaludes or something. It was the 1970s. What are we doing?
So here we go. Already there's a critical amount of tension between the leagues.
I think Old Trapper is an Oregon-based company, I believe, and so it fits right in the footprint.
Here we go.
But I'll say this is, and again, it's just these John Canzano, John Wilner, these guys. And the Pac-12 itself, most importantly, they're just trying to elevate themselves, or the writer trying to elevate the Pac-12, like it's this close to a power conference.
It's not.
So what we're learning is, okay, so you have the same brand sponsor as
the Mountain West,
which you say is just a trash conference that totally sucks in every way compared to you.
Yeah.
because Oregon State and Washington State are this close to being invited to the Big 12, even though they got left behind and nobody wanted them like a year ago. What has changed since then?
Nothing has changed.
What has changed?
Nothing. Yeah, I don't know.
Boise State's going to run these teams over just like they did in the Mountain West. They're going to.
Fresno State's going to have some fun with them too, I think. Probably.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, okay.
You know. So there it goes. It keeps on rolling on with the battle between the two conferences. Speaking of the Mountain West Conference, we're just gathering some intel as we get closer to the start of the season. A reminder that 4 Mountain West teams play in Week 0, so we're not that far away. So you're going to have a chance to get some evaluation besides North Dakota State on August 29th. We were just doing this in break. New Mexico, UNLV, San Jose State, Nevada, and Northern Illinois, Michael, all have quarterback battles going on right now.
They do. Well, again, competition, iron sharpens iron. But let's get that out of the way. and I don't know that – I'll say this. UNLV,
is it?
Dan Mullen says he has a quarterback competition. Maybe that's his strategy to, this Jackson Arnold again. I've never seen the kid play. I've never seen the kid play one down, so I can't comment. But he was like the second coming. I mean,
he's a 5-star recruit, right?
I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, some of these national media types have Jackson Arnold as like the 25th best quarterback in the country. It's like, well, what?
Yeah.
The kid hasn't played, been successful anywhere.
He's been at 2 stops and hasn't worked.
So if he's not the guy in Vegas, then, well, okay. That seems odd.
Right.
Northern Illinois, we thought that they got this kid from Western Carolina who went to North Carolina and didn't last through spring ball or left after spring ball, Taron Dickens. So we thought he was the guy in DeKalb, but we don't know
right?
I don't know that he's been named the starter.
Nevada and San Jose State have legitimate quarterback competitions going on there.
Yes.
Like Choda's got it looks like he might go with a sophomore, a true freshman that played, I think, 7 or 8 games last year is likely going to be the guy there. Yep. Niumatalolo had told us in media days, like, we got a fighter guy.
Yep.
And then New Mexico is really interesting.
Yes. Jack Lane, the quarterback who came with Jason Eck from Idaho to New Mexico and has been solid.
Yep.
He's had, is it elbow problems?
He had elbow surgery at the end of last season.
Yeah, and so he's apparently having troubles with that again and has not been practicing. And I think Jason Eck said yesterday, like, Jack Lane doesn't have a timeline or timetable on, like, I'm going to return or try to on this date. And so the young man is getting frustrated.
Obviously, the head coach is probably.
And the head coach now is saying, well, we just don't know that he's going to be able to go or when he's going to be able to go. And so they are trying to, I think, don't they have a backup from Michigan?
Yes. They have a couple that are in the mix there. Yeah.
And I think he had to play last year because Lane got hurt last year.
He's been hurt the last 2 years. He got hurt at Idaho 2 years ago, and he got hurt last year at New Mexico.
And so there's some quarterback intrigue with the program that I picked to win the Mountain West this year. I just like the way that Eck has his team playing defense and is strong up front on both sides of the ball, which would seem to be a good way to go in this league.
So half the teams have quarterback question marks is probably the best way to describe it.
If UNLV and Northern Illinois are legit question marks, that's 5 of the 10 teams are trying to find a quarterback 3 weeks before the season.
Which means UTEP and Wyoming are both going with FCS transfer guys to take over there. We know what North Dakota State has. Hawaii has Alejado back.
Yep.
Air Force has its starting quarterback back, and Liam Zarzga's back again. So that's it's quite the dividing line there between the two.
And again, I've said this before, and I'll go back. But again, so there's like 5 FCS quarterbacks, but yet I'm told on a regular basis by people in the group of 6 that FCS schools are terrible and can't play. So whatever, whatever.
New Mexico opens with Central Michigan. They play in week 1.
Central Michigan's supposed to be pretty good.
Not bad
right?
in the MAC. Yep.
Yeah.
Nevada has Western Kentucky. That's a
Western
really good
Kentucky
game. Is good in Conference USA.
Yep, they are.
That's a good
that's
game
2 good
there.
games to kick off. Is that week 0?
That's week 1.
Oh,
the week 0 game we're all focusing on, besides North Dakota State, is after the Bison game, is Memphis plays UNLV.
Yes.
Memphis might be the best team in the American. Them and Navy are pretty darn good.
I've seen mixture of those 2 teams being picked to win the league.
And then we'll find out how good UNLV is.
Yeah, I mean they're talented. There's no doubt about it. But
And then they play Hawaii the week after that.
Yeah.
Does the Running Rebels.
UNLV could be 2-0 and go, wow.
Right.
Or 0-2 and go, well, okay, it's wide open.
Correct. And that changes everything if that's the case, if that
happens. Good, yes. And first of all, every national prognosticator who has UNLV as the group of 6 representative because Dan Mullen is the coach.
Right.
And that's totally blown out of the water if they start out 0-2.
Correctamundo. I have like 2 minutes left here. I got an email I want to read to get your thoughts on this. Dom, I was thinking about your Bison ticket sales discussion from last week. It occurred to me that maybe the issue is not some specific boredom or dissatisfaction with Bison football specifically, but simply that there are so many other activities in the post-COVID era, there just aren't as many people interested. The number of bars, restaurants, and other entertainment options that went out of business is huge as people's habits shifted and inflation increased. Maybe the current state of selling out 1 or possibly 2 home games a year is as good as it gets now.
Might be.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's. I sense actually excitement this year about NDSU football more than I have
certainly
in the past.
Over the last couple of years.
And let me say this: I'm become obsessive about this. They're getting down to about 1,000 tickets remaining for Jacksonville State. I think that'll be awfully close.
Yeah, if not
they
sell
don't
out,
get
it'll be pretty darn close.
And Nevada, don't overlook the Nevada game.
Okay.
The tickets there are going
which is a
pretty
night
well.
game as well.
I mean, it's the same thing. It's the corners.
Yeah.
You know, so we've had suggestions and people on X and Twitter have said maybe they need to somehow lower the prices.
Yep.
And maybe that's the case. I think that's a big deal. I think the cost is a big deal. I think people would like to go, and it's fun, but a family of 4, that's $220.
I was going to say
plus
$200, right?
All the fees and licenses and all of that, and so that's plus you got
to get there.
Johnny and Sally want to have a hot dog,
got to
and
eat,
a pizza and some nachos, and that's $340 right there. So going to a Bison football game is not inexpensive.
Yeah,
and so I think that's a major thing.
Great stuff as always.
I also, by the way, I'll say this again. Sorry.
No, you're right.
I also believe that North Dakota State, I don't know who it falls on, so I'm not criticizing an individual, but I don't know that they try to sell the tickets.
Yeah.
I know that Polasek last week it looked like he had the players come out, and that's fine. It's really not his job.
Nope.
It's not his job to sell tickets.
Nope.
In the end, it kind of is, but he shouldn't have to be out there.
He's only responsible for winning. That's it.
Right.
At
some point, somebody in the department they should be knocking on doors, like literally going door to door and going, "Would you like to buy 2 tickets?"
Especially
or going to the business partners around.
I was going to say that. Yep.
Like the Vikings used to do. Used to have General Mills buy 10,000 tickets so they could announce a sellout, and it could be televised locally in the Twin Cities.
Yep.
Go to your business partners and have them buy the tickets and hand them out to people who don't normally go to the games. So you're cultivating a new generation of fans that go, wow, this is really cool.
Or I would also, we got to go, knock door to door on the people that used to be season ticket holders and aren't anymore and say, why are you not and would you come back? Right?
Yeah.
Like that's a strategy.
There is a vast swath of South Fargo where there's money.
Yeah.
And I get it. People are busy, but it's 250,000 people live in these 2 counties now.
Yep. What are you doing? Right. What else are you doing on
just going to
Saturday?
the Bison game on Saturday.
Exactly. Thanks for coming by, bud. Good to see you as always. Mike McFeely joins us each and every Tuesday. His appearances, of course, brought to us by Sunset Lanes out of Moorhead. League season starts in just a couple weeks, right? Getting ready for that? There you go. So we're getting ready for that.
My rotator cuff loosened up here.
We'll come back. We'll start our second hour, big high school hour coming up in hour 2. We'll head out to Valley City. Brand new look at their new turf football field that will debut in 10 days' time. That's coming up when we come back after this.
The Highliners.
This is Hot Mike with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We promised yesterday big high school hour, and we will deliver on that promise. We'll check in Minot coming up about a half hour with Jacob Holmen, head coach of the Sentinels of Minot North, last year's runners-up in Class 2A football, as they get ready for the start of another season. I feel like we've grown up with them. Like, our show has been not necessarily concurrent with them, but we've seen them literally grow up from JV to now being one of the top teams in North Dakota. So we'll do that coming up in just a little bit. I'm really excited, though, for our next guest here because They are playing football. He doesn't need to remind them. Like 10 days' time, they have a football game to officially start the 2026 high school season in North Dakota, and going to be breaking in a brand new field in Valley City. Chad Smith joins us, second-year head coach of the Highliners, as they get set to host Velva coming up a week from Friday. I don't think you need any reminders, right, that you have a game in 10 days' time?
No, I don't. It's crazy how fast it comes. All of a sudden, we were starting practice Thursday, and I told our guys, we play in 2 weeks, guys. We don't get much time. We don't get to start, like NDSU middle of July and play the end of August. Now we're going. They literally got done with baseball in that Legion game, and they had 2 days off, and they're in a football season.
What went into the scheduling of playing in week 0? Was that just an opportunity to do it?
That was Coach Hunt, I think 2 years ago, set that up with Velva and Langdon as the non-conference games. And I told him when I got hired, I was like, really, Velva and Langdon? Like, I appreciate that a lot. We find out how good of a team we're going to be right off from the get-go. We get the defending state champions last year, and now we get the defending state champions too. So we find out right away.
There's no easing into the schedule. There's no doubt about that. We showed a little bit of the photos you shared with me before break, Chad, of what's going on. What is the excitement level around not only obviously the football program, but just the town of what's going to debut here next week?
I think the buzz is really good. It's been awesome to see. Those photos came out, I think Friday or Saturday. Jensen Air took some, and all of a sudden, Facebook and Instagram and Twitter were going like,
I bet.
Wow, this is nice. And I'm like, it's going to be gorgeous. It's beautiful. I mean, I've only walked on it a couple times because we're still waiting to get the fill in, and hopefully that fill gets in. We're hoping today, tomorrow, and maybe we can practice on a Friday, but we'll see. But we'll be ready for the game on next Friday, which will be awesome. And I think there's just been a lot of buzz. There's a lot of buzz around Valley City football over the last year. Obviously, with Trey McPartland going to NDSU was a big deal for our program last year. And then, the new school gets approved in the amendum here, I think it was last year. And I mean, they started construction on that immediately. And then next thing you know, our AD and offense coordinator, Rob Hunt, says, hey, we're getting turf. And I was like, that's awesome. And here we are. And it'll be cool. And then we get to host the defending state champs from 2 years ago.
So there's a shot there of the Highline Bridge off in the distance. That looks really, really cool. Wow, this is a big time deal.
It will look way cool. Like Valley City's logo or, mascot is a Highliner. People are like, what's a Highliner, right? Because we really don't have a quote unquote mascot, but that bridge back there, that Highline Bridge is what the school's been about for years and years. And so with that in the north end zone and being able to see across, when you're standing in the stands, you can see the train going across. And I tell you what, I've lived in this town for 10 years and I still get awestruck when I see a train go across that bridge. It's quite the feat.
What is the level of excitement for your players? This is a big – I mean, there's going to be some more eyeballs clearly for game one just simply because of how new this is. Are they appreciative of what's coming?
I think so. I think our guys – I don't know if they know really. You know what I mean? I think kids today, I think, are kind of oblivious to it, but I think they're excited. I know they're excited about practicing down at VCSU right now. Like, that's different to them and practicing on turf and being down there. And they've got their own bubble being built right now too, their addition to the bubble. So there's construction down there. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and we're being focused and determined on what we're at. We graduated 12 from last year's class, and we only have 2 seniors this year. So we're extremely young. But I mean, I told them, I'm like, being young isn't the worst thing in the world. They don't know what they don't know. So I said, if we're going to be aggressive and get downhill, let's just be aggressive and get downhill and just play some fun football, and we'll see where the chips lay.
Describe last year, Chad, your first year as head coach. You went 3-6. Where do you see out of that squad? And you mentioned you graduated a bunch of guys. Is this basically a clean slate, like a blank canvas you're working with for this fall?
I think it is. Last year's class, I will laugh. I don't think I will ever have an offensive line like I had last year. If people don't know, we legitimately probably had close to a college O-line. We had Jack Dearley, who was 6'7", 250 pounds. Great kids going down to Wapton, and he's not going to play sports, but I mean, he had Bemidji State after him. He had a whole bunch of guys, and he just decided not to. Good basketball player too. We got Trey McPartland, who's 6'4", going to NDSU now, playing as well. And then we have Rob's youngest son, who's going to be a junior for us. So you're Owen Hunt, 6'4", 300 pounds. And we were I will never be that big. And I wish I had a couple more years with those guys. I'm like, we only had it for a year. But that senior class, they did a really good job for having to listen to 3 head football coaches in their career, right?
Yeah.
They had Coach Rourke for a year, and then they had Coach Ingen for 2 years, and then they had me for a year. And, there was some of that was just trying to figure out where, philosophies, Coach Ingen's philosophies versus ours. And we grew. And, what I was proud of is we played Velva really tough last year, to a 16-0 game. We were right in that ball game. And then we went through a lull in the middle of the year where, we just didn't score a lot of points. And then we got better towards the end of the year. If we'd have beat Northern Cass and beat Coach Eukstead over there, we'd have gotten the playoffs. And we played really good towards the end of the year. So, yeah, and I told the guys, I'm like, yeah, it is a fresh canvas now. And I told the 2 seniors, I said, this is your program and whatnot too, but we also have to continue to build for the future. And we're going to play a lot of young guys. And, I can't say that we can sit out here, and I want to be realistic and be like, hey, I don't know if we're ready to play for a state title, but we can compete for Region 1, areas and trying to get in the playoffs, and we continue to build a program. And then wherever we get over the next few years, we springboard and offer your guys' leadership.
Speaking of Owen, I had a chance to see him for the first time in person. He's a class of 28, so he's still got a couple years to go. What is the ceiling with, obviously his dad was pretty darn good. You know him well. What's the ceiling with Owen?
Yeah, his dad was a really good football player. Most people don't know on here. He played at NDSU, and then he played in the league for a couple of years.
Yep.
He was part of the NDSU's early dynasties in the early 2000s. Cavalier native, and so we still laugh about that when he comes over here to Valley City. He likes to talk about that a lot. But Owen,
I bet he does.
Owen's older son, older brother Dylan's playing at MSUM.
Yep.
We're excited about him. I coached Dylan when I was here before I came to NDSU and then back here. So, we're excited. Dylan's competing for a starting job, I think, down at MSUM this year. And then Owen's, continuing to grow. And Owen's bigger than Dylan, which is crazy. But he looks really good, man. He wrestled really good this spring, and we're excited about where he's growing. I told him, I was like, the hard part for us in practice is, Owen, you're so dang big. It's hard to get you good matchups, one-on-one stuff in practice. I said, so the little things is what we got to work on. I said, you can't be lax in where your body position and your footwork is, because that's where you're going to make the biggest growth when you get to playing better competition. Because if you don't play better competition in practice all the time, your footwork and your hand placements are going to get you in trouble when we see in spring ball. But, he did a really good job on the summer camp tournaments this summer. Went to NDSU camp, went to UND's camp, and I think he went down to Minnesota or Iowa's camp. I can't remember, but he's got a lot of schools talking at him. It's awesome. UND's offered him, and I know he's in daily conversations with NDSU. Iowa State came up and visited with him too, and so he's got the tools. He's got to just continue to build off him, and he's a good kid, and he's hungry, and we're going to rely on him a lot over the next 2 years.
So when I mentioned you play a game in 10 days, how much does that ramp up everything, that everything has to be accelerated because you're playing in such a short amount of time?
Yeah, yesterday was our first day of live, right? Because you go 3 days, you can get 3 days for acclimation period and get into full pads. And yesterday we went live, and you think you're a good tackling kid against dummies, and then you go live and you're like, oh, wait a minute, they can cut back on you and whatnot too. So we really got to focus today on practice on the fundamentals of tackling and continue to do that, do a little bit more live today. I think we have a lot of skill guys. We're going to be, Owen Wise is big up front, but we've really just got to hone on the details, I think, more than anything. Practice, with high intensity and tempo, tackle like crazy, dogs, and just get after the ball, and then continue to work development O-line wise and continue to develop our 2 young quarterbacks.
When you play, Chad, as early as you do, is it okay? We're going to get out there. We'll find a lot out about us in game 1 and certainly game 2 with who you have. And then, all right, it sounds crazy. Once you're in your 3rd game of the season, then we can really start going from there.
Yeah, I think so. I think with the 2 opponents we got, it's a matter of, feeling that barometer where we're at. I just, I tell the guys probably early often, like, hey, I'm not worried so much about what the result on the scoreboard is a matter of when we turn on the tape, are we in the right places? Are we in the right areas? We run our defense very much in NDSU style, right? So it's nice to be able to take some film from what I learned at NDSU a while back and to what we're at now to be like, hey, this is what it should actually look like to where we're at. And if we continue to work and be physical up front, and we're going to miss tackles here and there, but if we're just at the ball and we're at the right areas, I think we'll be okay. And we continue to grow. and we get going. Yeah, we get going, and after those week 2, and I think we get Sargent County again, if I remember right. And that's where we hit our stride last year too, as we got against Sargent County and we were able to score some points and get going. But I don't know how much Langdon graduated. I have to go back and look on the roster again. Same thing with Velva. I don't remember how many they graduated to, but it's a new season every year. High school football, you don't get to recruit to what you have. You got to play with what you got.
Yeah.
So
stands to reason, though, both those teams I know are pretty good from seeing what they have coming up, that they're full well what you're going to get coming your way here in a week's time. It seems preposterous to ask as well. Ask anyway. Are there people that around town that are unaware of what's going on, or hey, there's some? Is there anybody that's under a rock that has no idea that there's a new school and new football field that's out there now?
In today's climate and everything, it's all about the money. So literally when the school got approved and then the turf got approved, the buzz was, well, where's the funding coming from? Where's the money? And that was more, and I'm really appreciative. And I've been trying to make a voice of like, hey, this didn't cost our taxpayers dollars. This came out of Essentia Health to help our school and program out. They helped West Fargo Cheyenne with that same field a few years back. They've helped with this now. We're really excited about what they've done for us too. And so that was the kind of the buzz. I don't think anyone's under the rock of knowing what's not going on there. There's too much construction around here to know that. You know what I mean? But BCSU building their indoor, and then with us doing the school and the turf, there's just, I think everyone knows.
You coached for a long time. What do you think? Are there going to be nerves next Friday night for this game?
When we walk on the turf, I think there'll be some nerves looking on it, going what you represent and the money that people have poured into you and what you've done to try to build it for the program. I think the kids are oblivious. I really do, because you sit there and you go, okay, we're building a $28 million school in the north end of this field. This field turf is not cheap. You talk about what it requires to get done, and then every 5 years we're up for new uniforms, and we got new uniforms this year too. I mean, everything is new for us, and it's like, all right, we better earn our keep for this. We better not look like, we better look like we're a coached football program, not a bunch of ragtag, little giants out there. But we'll see. And it's exciting. I mean, there's a lot of growth going on and a lot of things that are happening in this town and this community, and it'll be really, really exciting for it.
Chad, I appreciate you doing this, bud. Congrats on the new turf. It looks great. Good luck this year, and thanks for the time this morning, okay?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Looking forward to see you guys on Friday.
Appreciate it. There he is, Chad Smith, joining us, head coach of Valley City Highlanders, with the opener coming up a week from Friday against Velva. You'll see that game right here on WDAY Extra. Brody, if we could show the video again of the new turf out there. I can remember going out, this has got to be 8 years ago, when the track went in, when the new blue track was put. It was new at the time. And that was the goal at the time. The administration wanted to raise the funds to get turf out there. And they told me, the administration, it was Josh Johnson, if I remember right, old Valley City superintendent, that told me, it's going to be a work in progress. It's going to be a long shot for us to have this happen. And now here we are in August of 2020. Look at that. That looks fantastic. That will be a huge deal. And that, obviously, what he's talking about there, the new school being on the north side of the stadium, you've got the Highline Bridge back there in the background. I mean, it just is fantastic. And adds another place, and I'm going to roll this out here for all the high school football coaches and administrators that watch the show, and there are plenty, that now you have another place in a part of the state where we can play a playoff game and not have the field conditions be poor. You hear what I'm saying now? Because you've got it in every corner of the state has field turf. And I know nobody wants to copy Minnesota, because Minnesota has all their state games are played on turf. Every single one. From quarterfinals around the state, obviously the semis and the championship are played at US Bank Stadium. And people don't want to lose home dates. I get it. But even if we do the semifinals, because there are certain teams I can think of immediately that would love to have a game back. I'm looking at you, New Rockford and Cavalier in 2020, that played in absolute mud. It was terrible. That we could play that game now in Grand Forks. We could play that game in Mayville. We could play the game in Castleton. We could play the game in Wahpeton. We could play the game in Valley City. We could play it in Jamestown. We could play it in Killdeer. We could play it in Dickinson. We could play it in Watford. All those places have turf now. Every single place. Partial has turf. I mean, we could go wherever. So just food for thought for the high school football administrators out there. That is, I understand you don't want to give up a home date of revenue. I get that. But if we're looking for the most fair competition to be had, neutral site, turf, semifinal games may not be as outlandish an idea as it was 6 years ago. That was the first time I ever brought it up. And the response was, well, we don't have enough places that have turf. Well, we do now. Literally every part of the state. Minot has it. Dickinson has it. Mandan has it. Grand Forks has it. Wahpeton, I mean, even in the southeastern corner of the state has it now. Certainly the middle part of the state does. Now you gotta give me something else now. If it's beyond revenue, then make it happen, because that's cool. Congrats to the people in Valley City. I can't wait to see what that looks like on television a week from Friday. All right, we're overdue for a break. We'll get caught up here, got a couple other emails to get to, and a couple other fun topics I want to share with Hot Mike rolls on a... Welcome back, everybody. Our thanks to Chad Smith for giving us a few minutes there out of Valley City. He's getting ready for a new season for the Highliners. Email comes in from earlier. Dom, how big of a year is this for Dylan Chimura and Dan Larson? The Youngstown State game wasn't good, and they were totally outclassed by the UND defense. We all know about the Illinois State game. If you could tell at all last season that Jake Landry was missed, they will face way tougher defenses than UND this year and have more question marks than last season. I say 6-6 is a win. That's bold. I would totally agree with the first statement. It's a huge year for Dylan Chimura and Dan Larson, the offensive line coach and the offensive coordinator. I think that goes without saying. And that was something we talked about with Dan Larson on Friday at Bison Media Day, certainly of the pressures that come with being an offensive coordinator. I think year two he will be better than year one in terms of comfortability in the job. Now, he's also got to adjust to the fact that he doesn't have a Bryce Lance to throw the ball downfield to, a Raja Nelson that he's comfortable with, that it's in his 6th year to go and make a play on a 3rd down, or Chris Harris that you knew would go. There's question marks there to adjust to. On the offensive line part, now we hammered this pretty hard in the first hour of the show, that has to be finalized, which I think they're getting pretty darn close to it. You heard Polasek say that in the first hour of the show, and just roll with it, right? Just they consistently tinkered with it last year. I'll definitely remember we're on the field, and I'm down on warm-ups because obviously we didn't televise the South Dakota State game last year, and I'm going around and I get different video for things that we work on this show, for our pregame show, for the news, whatever. And down there is warm-ups are just getting underway, and one of the grad assistants stopped me and said, hey, the kid's going to play a lot tonight. And we're talking about offensive line because that's where I was. And I turned my head and I said, Babbitts? And they shook their head, yep. Which at the time, I'm like, wow, that's a big deal. They think he's that ready, that good to play in, at that time, the biggest game of the year. Then that's a pretty bleeping big story. But the flip side now, as you look at it, hindsight and retrospect of what went down, is, well, okay, well, maybe they also think that are there times when Bo Johnson isn't particularly at the spot they want him to be at, or Josh Mangan, or whatever you want to say. In hindsight, you could look at that now. So, to the emailer's point, and I will say, UND, yep, offensively, they were flustered the entire game. They made a couple of plays late where Peyton got out of the pocket, hit Reese Kessel down the field late in that game, and then Peyton took it himself, scored a touchdown, ended up being the game winner. Bison D was amazing in that game. Offense left a lot to be desired. I'd say, frankly, South Dakota State was where it peaked last year offensively. Youngstown State, I know they scored 30-some-odd points, but they got a special teams touchdown, and they got a gift touchdown on another special teams error by Youngstown when the kickoff hit Flash Wilson's face mask, and then they got the ball at the 10-yard line. Offensively, they weren't super sharp in that game. Then UND was the week after, and then after that, I mean, they played Northern Iowa and St. Thomas, and that wasn't a challenge. And then we all know what happened against Illinois State. So, and that is a byproduct, I think, of what the offensive line issues. Now, what they have in front of them this year, I think Babbitt's is going to be better in his second year. I think Tosted will be stronger and better as well. I think Gage Schmidt's a great story. Being a former walk-on, we heard from Gage during spring football. I profiled him there, and now has emerged as likely the guy. Empey's your best player out that up front. And Nene's got a lot of raw ability. Hasn't played a down of college football yet. Going to be his opportunity now. Will come in 18 days against Jacksonville State. They just have a lot to figure out on that side. So to the emailer's point, 6-6 seems a bit dramatic to me. I don't see them losing 6 football games this year, but his points are well taken on exactly the struggles they potentially have up front. I definitely don't discount that whatsoever. Appreciate that. All right, bottom of the hour break. We'll take it now. When we come back, we'll visit out in Minot. The Sentinels ready for a big 2026. Head coach Jacob Holmen will join us as we look ahead to Minot North and their upcoming year. We'll do that on the other side of the break.
This is Hot Mic with Dom Izzo, presented by Northwestern Mutual.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Final half hour here on a busy Tuesday. We keep our high school football chatter going. We're going to do plenty of that. As we mentioned, we got week 0 games coming up a week from Friday. For other schools, they start after that final Friday in August, which that's where we're going to turn our attention out west in Minot, as Minot North gets ready for the 2026 season after a breakthrough year last year that had the Sentinels play in the Dakota Bowl. They lost to Devil's Lake, finished 11-1 in 2025, and ready for that one last hurdle to get back to Fargo and win that last game. Jacob Holmen is their head coach, the only coach they've ever had, and joins us here this morning to chat some Minot North football. I feel like we have grown up with your program. Like we were there when you guys were a freshman team to JV to now here you are playing at the Dakota Bowl. I don't know. I feel like we've seen your guys grow up in front of us here.
Yeah, well, we appreciate the coverage we've had from the start. It's a unique thing, and you guys have experienced that in Fargo with several different schools. So it's a fun situation to just see kids and how they mature and grow and how our program's growing. It's been a good go.
I know, obviously, the end of it didn't go the way you wanted, but to have the experience you did of playing at the Fargo Dome in only a couple years of varsity ball, is that even ahead of your wildest timelines of what you wanted to do?
I mean, that's the goal, right? When you start, and we saw that we had a pretty good group of dudes that could maybe get us there. So coming into last season, like it wasn't Dakota Bowl or bust, but the expectation was we were going to be in the mix to be able to play at the end of the year, and to get to play in big games this early in our program's history is special for the guys who put in a lot of time and really help build our program from the ground up. So to send them out on a tough loss, but to send them out with the experience of finishing where you're one of the last 2 teams playing was a pretty good deal for those kids.
Have you gone back and watched the game yet, Jacob, or no?
I have. It took me a while. I waited about a month or 2 to go back, but you always struggle to watch the losses, but there's a lot of stuff that we did well in that game, and we're proud of the guys for the effort that they had. And we ran into a really good football team that day, and a couple guys like the Palmer kid was lights out. So it's hard to stop athletes like that.
So here it is now, new year. You've been practicing for a few days. Describe is it Dakota Bowl or bust in 2026 now?
I don't think we have the same mentality coming in. I mean, we think that at the end of the year we can be a good team, but it's going to take us probably 3, 4, 5 weeks to really figure out who needs to play where, whether guys can step into spots that they haven't played before. We'll have some freshmen and sophomores that are in the mix for some playing time. So this is a year where those first 4 games where they're not not conference games are a big deal.
Yeah.
Last year, I wasn't a big fan of it. I wanted to get into it right away because we had a mature team. But this year, we're going to mix guys around and figure out who's the best guys to be on the field together and who can communicate well, who can play well. But yeah, it's going to be a different looking group of dudes out on the field.
You were mentioning that to me off air that you graduated over 20 guys, that was the core. They grew up with you as part of that program. What is it now where you have a consistent pipeline where that wasn't the case 2 years ago?
Right. It's different. Losing that many kids, we've never experienced it before.
Yeah.
So the first day of practice was really the first time that it hit us of, oh, these kids are gone. But they did such a good job of modeling what it takes to be a good football player, to be a leader, where they didn't have that when they started. And they were challenged from the time they were freshmen. They were always the old kids. And they modeled things really well. And our senior class has been very impressive so far. We got about 16 seniors, and most of them have played a lot of football for us. And they're doing a really good job of leading and being vocal. And we're going to keep challenging them to continue what our last class kind of started a few years back.
We're going to look at your schedule here. I know you're only worried about Williston in game 1, but what stands out? You got to go to Devil's Lake. You got a trip to Jamestown. You're coming to Fargo, I know. What stands out about what your schedule looks like in 2026?
Yeah, we're lucky to have 5 home games. I actually like to start on the road if possible, especially in a year like this where we're trying to figure some things out. But yeah, I don't think anything stands out a ton. I think the West is going to be very balanced. I don't think that there's a just heavy favorite like there's been in the past couple of years. And it could be anyone who ends up on top at the end of things. It's just going to depend on really who can develop the best linemen and who can stay the healthiest. And that's something you hear coaches say all the time, but that's what it really comes down to, is who's going to win the line of scrimmage and who's going to be healthy in week 7, 8, 9.
Expectations are obviously different on the outside as well, which you haven't had to deal with before, let alone from people I'm sure around town that are patting you on the back. But for the other opponents, like, all right, we know they're good. Like, that's going to be something different, I'm sure, for your players to adjust to, right?
For sure, yeah. You get to know teams a little bit, where the first year we were a varsity team, no one knew what we were going to do. Everything was brand new. And then as you start to play other teams, you get to know them well. And there's been some coaching changes in the AA level, and guys are shuffling around. So there's still an element of that where we'll be new to some teams, they'll be new to us. But yeah, they know what we're going to do. We're going to run the ball on offense, and we're going to try to fly around and be physical on defense. But it just comes down to 11 dudes in between the lines that are making the decisions and playing hard. And we'll just do the best we can on the sideline, put them in the best spots to be successful.
Give us a couple guys you're counting on this year, stand out. I know you don't want to single out anybody. I'm going to ask you to do it anyway.
Yeah.
A couple guys that could be good this year for you.
Yeah, I think the kid that most people know about is Ethan Howie.
Yes.
He's a UND commit, and he's really matured and has become a leader of our football team. But he's a problem in practice. We struggle to match up with him at times. But we got a couple other kids that challenge him. So Braxton Thompson was a first-team All-State D lineman last year. Both those guys were first-team All-Staters. And then we've got some talented running backs and some talented receivers that we're the fastest team that we've ever been. 2 guys run under 11 flat and 100. So we're anxious to see how we can share the ball a little bit, where last year was we're going to run behind our big guys. And this year it's still going to be that, but there's receivers that we got to throw it sideways to. We got to take shots over the top with. And then defensively, I think the speed is going to be noticeable. When we got our best 11 on the field, we're going to cover a lot of ground. It's just a matter of, are we willing to tackle?
Ethan Howie, being a Division I recruit, I know he announced his commitment to UND over the spring. If I would have told you that in 3 years of varsity ball, would you have believed me you'd have that already?
Seeing Ethan Howie, I probably would have said there's a shot that he can get there just with his frame that he's got. He's got a unique ability to move as well as he does at the size that he is. So yeah, just the frame that he had was a good starting place, but he's worked his tail off. He loves the weight room. He lifts with us, and then he goes to the Y and does a bunch of stuff there. And he's always trying to improve. So it's a credit to a kid for just working.
Jacob, now with the success you guys have had, and obviously Minot is not that far removed from winning the whole thing a couple years ago. What is it like in town now with this? You guys haven't played a varsity football game yet, but what is it like knowing that it's bubbling? It's on the surface there.
Yeah, we're itching at it to get on a field against each other. We scrimmage this Thursday. So some tensions will flare a little bit there, but we still respect the heck out of each other, and like it's gonna ebb and flow. Like high school football is a beautiful thing where you're not recruiting kids, you're just taking who you get, and it's so dependent on you have a good class, you have a class that's maybe a little bit undersized. It's going to change as we go through it. And they had a good stretch and then had some struggles, and then we had a good stretch here recently, and that's going to be a common thing, but I think it's going to make our teams better when we get to start playing each other, because there's going to be that competition always going on throughout the year.
The big question on this side of the state, certainly with reclassification coming for next year this cycle, is West Fargo-Horace has already moved to 3A and how that's going to look. I'm assuming that you guys are going to follow suit. What have you heard, and are you anticipating being a 3A school in 2027?
Yeah, everything that we've heard has been that we'll move up, and we're preparing for that. You don't like to look too far ahead as a coach. You like to stay focused on the right now, but in the back of our mind, like as a head coach, you're trying to develop your program.
Right.
And when you start playing minor high and the Bismarck schools and some of the West Fargo schools, it's a different level of football. And we're trying to get our kids to see that. Like we still play quality opponents week in and week out, but you get beat up every single week, the higher level that you get to. So that's in the back of our minds, and we're trying to get kids ready to see that, but we're still trying to take things day by day and figure out this year.
Well, I'm sure also on the outside, everybody's focused. Well, okay, that means you get to play Minot, but as you mentioned, it also means you get to play Bismarck, you get to play Mandan, you play Cheyenne, you play Horace and West Fargo. There's a whole other kettle of fish that goes with just playing Minot.
Right. It's way different, just the level of football,
Right.
But then we're kind of back to square one where we got to learn about all these teams again.
Yeah.
And some of them, thankfully, I played against when I was a player, like Coach Gibson's still around, Coach Wingenbach's still around. So I know what they want to do. But that whole process starts over, and your winter gets a little bit different than it was the last couple of years here.
How excited for you to see this from the ground up? And I know we talked, now 4 years ago when you're just getting this thing going, to now here you are, you're a statewide respected program. What kind of pride do you have on this for being there from the ground floor on it?
We have a lot of pride in our program, and it wasn't an easy process to get to where we're at right now. And it's a credit to the people that we get to do this thing with. Like our coaching staff is top tier dudes. They're high character people, but they're really good and they're really excited to be at practice. There's a lot of energy from them. And our kids have followed suit really well. And it took some time to get to a point where we could actually practice at a level that we wanted to. And you're still fighting that at times with young kids coming in every year, but we have kids now that can model that. And they're representing their town of Minot and the north side of Minot super well, and people are really proud of them. And we're just grateful for all the support that we've had so far.
And I saw it at the Fargo Dome firsthand last November. Your crowd was tremendous. They came to support, which has been there, like you mentioned, from the very beginning of your program.
Yeah, and that's a credit to really our first group of parents. Yeah. They've gotten stuff going and started a booster group that has been super active, but very, very hands-off in ways that they've let me do my job and build our program, but have supported us 100%. And then we have great students here too that have supported us. And it's fun to be a teacher at our school because I get to talk to them and encourage them to come to games, and they've done a great job of doing that.
Now, before I let you go, do you tell your players about like old fall camp horror stories where you still had to do 2-a-days and all that? Because they don't do that in college anymore. I don't know. Are you doing that in high school ranks?
We are doing it. Yeah, we go 2 times a day, and we tell them fall camp's hard. And sometimes I think that scares people away. But you also want guys that can handle hard.
Yep.
There's not a sport like football. Fall camp is different than anything other athletes get to experience. But I think it brings you together in a way that is really special. So yeah, we still do the 2-a-day approach. Every now and then we'll give them an afternoon off, but it's such a short time where we get 3 days at the beginning of the season and then another week and we start school. So yeah, we love fall camp.
Well, there's some teams that are playing next week. If I told you had to play next week, would you be ready?
Well, we'd have to be, but it would be a little bit trickier. So yeah, we're lucky that we get an extra week. I love that we don't play the first week of school because that first week of school is just chaotic and getting to practice afterwards and people are exhausted. So yeah, we're fortunate that we get till the 28th to really get ready to go.
It's great to see you, man. Thanks so much for doing this. I know we'll talk during the season. Good luck this year and appreciate the time this morning.
Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate it.
There he goes, Jacob Holmen, head coach at Minot North. Sentinels open up with Williston to open up the 2026 season, their final year in 2A. This is it. We'll see if they can go out a champ, knowing Kindred is certainly on this side of the state, and they have their own high expectations for what happened for them this past fall. That's what we thought last year. It's Minot North and Kindred that's going to be the two teams, and obviously that ended up being Devil's Lake spoiled the party on that. But just looking at enrollment numbers already projected that Minot North is going to be up, and I know Troy Matter was here last week and dropped a little nugget that the Grand Forks schools may potentially be moving back, which would be appropriate. It's about 6 years too late because they started this whole drama when they decided to move down. Again, I'll go. This is the other high horse I have for high school football. 1, the semifinals play on turf. 2, if you are a school in Minot, Fargo, Bismarck, Grand Forks, you play in the top level. No discussion. That's it. That's my first time saying it this year. I'm sure we'll have a couple more when the realignment maps come out later this fall. Let's break. We come back. We'll wrap things up. We'll get you ready for a busy Sports Tuesday. Plus, update of that Field of Dreams game because the Saints are playing tonight. Walker Jenkins on TV. We'll do that when Hot Mike wraps right after this. All right, wrapping things up here on this Tuesday morning. Back tomorrow. Our guy Sam Hurd will be back with us after his paternity leave and get us ready for the upcoming FCS season. Sam's going to be joining us on Wednesdays, I believe, throughout the season. We also have a pretty cool other guest announcement that we'll make when appropriate as we get closer to the start of the college football season. So a couple of moving and shakings for what we normally do, but it'll be great to have Sam back with us and chat about fatherhood and also on some football chat because don't forget the FCS season is fully going on that Saturday, the 29th. There's some games on Thursday, the 27th, including UND's opener with Long Island. We'll get all that with Sam coming up tomorrow on the show. I got this sent to me, and I can't believe I haven't talked about it yet. But today, apparently, the New York Islanders, not necessarily a hot topic on our program normally, have started the first of its kind in the National Hockey League, the first fan-driven design contest for its third jersey. They literally are opening this up for fans in a bracket style to determine what the team is going to wear on the ice, not for this year, for the 27-28 season. And they have boiled it down to these sweater combinations that you see on the screen. And all of them are not great. The only one that should be considered is in the upper right-hand corner is the Gordon's Fisherman look. Because anybody that's a hockey fan, and myself certainly remembers this, in 1995, the Islanders left their traditional logo, which was the NY on their chest and the orange and blue colors, and brought out the Gordon's Fisherman, which was reviled for, I think they wore it for 3 or 4 years. I mean, the Islanders were bad in the late 90s. Early 2000s, they finally started to get their act together. And granted, I would say over the last 20 years, they haven't really been all that great either. That's the jersey. That navy one, not the orange one, because that's not great. And I like blue and orange. That's my team. The Mets are my team. That's their colors. The other ones on here, like the Island, no, those are hideous. The NY with the stick, no. And the Lighthouse is another one they trotted out. No, the blue Gordon's Fisherman, that is the end of it. The first round of voting starts tomorrow and goes to Friday. And then they have a whole bracketed thing, and then they'll unveil it at the end of the month. We'll keep close tabs on this because I love their opening up for fans. I love that they're giving the fans interaction to actually go and have a say on it, of what the team will actually wear. That is pretty darn cool. Let's do some What to Watch before we get out of here. I can't imagine the amount of people that are going to vote on that. All right, here we go. We got Orioles and Twins coming up tonight. That's at 6:30 on Twins TV. Don't forget as well, the St. Paul Saints are playing tonight. Their game is on MLB TV against the Iowa Cubs from Dyersville in the Field of Dreams Park. That's tonight at 6:30 if you want to check that out as well. Big game of the WNBA tonight. Liberty and the Fever on ESPN. Caitlin Clark had her technical foul rescinded, so she will play in this game against New York tonight. And from the Little League Regional in Indiana, Wisconsin and Minnesota going now on ESPN+. Our thanks to Jacob Holmen, to Chad Smith, to Mike McFeely, of course, to Tim Polasek. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay of our show on WDAY+. Everybody enjoy the beautiful weather today. Thanks so much for making us part of your Tuesday. We'll be back again. We'll do it again tomorrow, 9 a.m. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching, everybody.